Hello and welcome to a very special installment of the Full Force Monthly, brought to you by Hoardar, the Collector's app. I am Christopher McLeod, AKA Diagnostic 80, and in this special episode, we are discussing the current Skybound G.I. Joe comics in both the Real American Hero and Energon Universe continuities. That was easy for me to say. Joining me on this episode is one half of the Talking Joe YouTube channel. It's Mark Talking Joe Seddon. Okay, then we are going deep on the Skybound comics today. So what is it, Mark?
And it's Skybound with the Talking Joe guy. Everyone calm down, because I'm with this fella.
Amazing.
Skybound. It's the Full Force Monthly.
It is. That's correct. It was mainly Talking Joe, but now it's the Full Force Monthly. How are you doing, buddy? It's been ages.
I'm good. Yeah, we've been talking about doing something for a long time, and it's here. Chris was said to me he's excited to talk to someone about the comics. I think he's just excited to talk to someone, full stop.
It's so
he
true.
gets by okay on his own. But
that's so true. I've been talking to myself what feels like months now. No one wants to join me. I'm just kidding. It's truly availability situation with Pat. And again, like we're working hard to try and get an actual like Pat on the show on Friday, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, dude, how are you doing? More importantly, Mark, how's life?
Good. It's all right. Things in life go on, and the wheel keeps on turning. I just keep on trying to fight the urge to get more G.I. Joe stuff, but
what have you got?
Things turn up in the post.
Oh, it's the fire team.
It's the fire
team.
What's this over here? Yes, this.
We've got the right theme going on graphically.
This guy going on.
All the black and red figures, basically.
So yeah, loving the Skeletron stuff.
Yes, the Skeletron stuff. Yeah, phenomenal. In fact, I saw there was a Pixel Dan video went up today. I think it was yesterday actually, or maybe earlier than that, about Skeletron, and he went ham on those figures. He loves them, and to be honest, they are brilliant. So I can't wait for the rest of those, the 6-inch figures, the vehicle.
This one is on my desk. I love him, and I love,
isn't it?
You can sort of tidy everything on his little backpack.
All the gear. I love the fact that the pistol goes in the back, then the backpack go. It's so satisfying, that bad boy. Anywho, we've had a bit of breaking news today. And we were obviously planning to go live today at a certain time, and it just so happens that we got a little bit of breaking news to talk about. So should we start with that, mate? We'll get into that, shall we? Let's do it. Sorry, I really like that track. Anywho, yes, it's the Full Force Monthly if you didn't know already. But yes, we are talking a bit of breaking news with the A Real American Hero Compendium is coming in October, or I should say the Volume 1 is coming in October. And there's a bit more information as well, Mark, to throw in on top of that, isn't there? Other than obviously the 2nd of October and $64.99 for Volume 1.
We've got a price point, we've got a date, and we've got an Amazon.co.uk listing, which has a little bit of a blurb. The most significant words in that blurb are that it collects issues 1 through 50.
That's amazing.
What I had guessed would happen, because what we're seeing here is the terminology compendium, and this is a phrase that is used by Skybound in their big fat collections. So I'll give you. I've got an example to hand here.
Oh, it's a juicy one.
This is Oblivion Song.
Hang on, there were 50 issues of Oblivion Song.
So for this one, it was collecting 1 through 36, and then it ended. So they're collecting all of the issues that were published. I think the price point for this one is a little bit cheaper because it's fewer issues. There's an Outcast compendium, which is 50 issues, which is at this same price, 50-ish issues anyway, which is this exact same price point, 64.99. And if you were to look at Invincible or Walking Dead, which is on my shelf over there, it's a similar sort of size, 50 issues. So it's fairly bare bones. They don't give you lots of extra content like what they do in some of the other editions. It is pretty much the core content of the issues. But
are they all like paperback style, like trades?
Yes, this is a trade paperback.
Yeah,
and
like thick trades, as opposed to that kind of like nice hardbound sort of style.
And I think this probably isn't the end of it, because if this being Skybound Image, they've got a style of how they collect issues, and it tends to be initial release of a thin trade paperback, arc, nice big fat hardcover collecting about 20 something issues, followed by a compendium, up to 50 issues. So I think seeing it in this format isn't necessarily going to preclude it being collected in other ways. So we might still see, other ways that this same material is being
little bite-sized trade paperbacks are possible still. Yeah, that's cool, man. So with that in mind, I guess they're going to cover not just Marvel, but also go into IDW and so on and so forth. Do you think? I mean, they're not just going to collect the original 1 to 155, are they?
Well, they're going to do what they like, but I think we're going to see there's going to be ambition to get to 300. I would have thought. They've gone 1 to 50 first, which I don't know if it's sort of leading us down a direction, but it's an interesting choice, because 1 through 50 were collected in the classic Marvel trades, which were the first sort of trade paperback collections of that run. They came out around about 2002-ish.
Yeah.
And at the same time as Devil's Due / Image were publishing the new stuff, Marvel were in parallel republishing the stuff that they'd put out. And those first 5 trades collecting the 50 issues are in significantly a nicer reproduction than the subsequent collections that followed, 6 onwards, which were done by IDW. And I think that's because they still at that point had access to some like film or assets that had all of those issues in a format where they could reproduce it, and potentially just invested the time and money to tidy it up to mean that they could reprint a higher fidelity. So I think those assets for those first 50 issues are kind of ready to go in a nicer format, whereas possibly there might be more work needed to do the subsequent issues.
We've got a bit of inside info here from Diana. It's going to be different in a few ways than the Marvel IDW reprints. Awesome. Thank you, Diana, for that. Can you tell us exactly?
We can speculate. My speculation would be that there'll be a little bit more focus to a more rational reading order. Yeah. So, for example, when Marvel and IDW were reprinting, they didn't include the yearbooks and they didn't include special missions, which meant that things were sort of slightly out of order. So there's a probably more logical way of collecting them which is closer to a logical reading order, particularly where there's crossover between, say, a regular issue and a yearbook.
Technically, it's a Real American Hero, so that doesn't mean just the standard run of the Real American Hero issues, does it? Like you say, special missions
it's
probably caught in there.
Yeah,
and also I would say, like, going into IDW, if they break into that, like if this is just to get this is just to get the Marvel era done in like a nice chunky trade, then cool. But like I imagine they'll want to do the whole thing. Then that would also pull in things like silent option and the special missions that kind of came out, like, or the special mission, the more recent special missions, shall we say, that were like, do you know what I mean? Like I feel like that would probably pull all that in. Would it include the miniseries for the $6 Million Man? Or do you think that wouldn't because of the extra?
That would be to the side because it's not Hammer written; it's a separate universe.
Got you. So. Cool. I thought it for some reason I thought it was a Real American Hero.
It was illustrated by S.L. Gallant, so it's
That's
really
probably
got that
why.
feeling
Yeah. Okay.
of belonging in that same world.
My bad.
1 to
Thanks, Diana.
50 is slightly more straightforward because during 1 to 50 there's not really any extra crossovers. There's maybe bonus material you could include, like Marvel Age, that kind of thing. But in terms of the actual core material, there's not a huge amount of extra crossover. There is yearbooks, but there's not really much crossover related to that yearbook for yearbook 1 and 2, yearbook 3 that then follows is post.
Yeah.
50.
Diana's teasing us again in the Diana's teasing us. Speculate until I get approval to tell you how. Done.
And Special Missions was kicked off in issue 50 with a bonus extra double-sized issue. So Special Missions is post issue 50.
Brilliant. So that would be a nice little kind of segue into that, wouldn't it? Like that would be a nice, nice and clean sort of break almost. That's wicked. Okay, cool. I mean, I've got to say, I know we'll be talking about this in a second anyway, but I've been really impressed with the way Skybound have gone about this this kind of brand so far. Not just with Job, Transformers, Void Rivals. I don't know. I've just been really like excited again and like properly energized about the comics and like I don't know about I mean is because this is buzzing my berries and this is just a blimmin' and I have the amount of times the amount of different versions I have of 1 through 155 is crazy. But I mean like how are you feeling about the kind of situation at the moment overall?
Yeah, you know, very excited that it's back. It was way of a long time and it's come back and you know, towards I liked most of what IDW did, but towards the end it was flagging, and particularly the towards the end it was just ARAH and the odd thing here or there. It didn't have that, you know, they went in with a big bang initially when they got the license in, was it, you know, 2007, 8-ish.
Yeah.
And they came out with those, you know, 3 books all in one, G.I. Joe, Cobra, Origins. Some of it worked better than others, but there was a lot of, you know, it was big bang, it was excitement, and sort of they never quite sort of captured some of that early energy in the subsequent endeavors. It seemed to be a bit of like diminishing returns, particularly on the non-Hammer stuff. So
have you been surprised, or have you been did you kind of expect it to have this like odd sustained kind of interest all the way through now? What we in like 3 issues of Duke, 2 issues. I know it's not a lot of issues in general, but like usually it's like issue 1 through the roof and then a drop so ridiculous that you never see or hear about comics again following it. I feel like it's been, you know, straight up boom, and it's maintained that ridiculous level.
It seems to be sustaining it, and they're doing a lot of second printings, third printings, fourth printings, fifth printings. So it feels like there's definitely sort of a lot of interest there and people sort of getting wind to it and coming to it and maybe a little bit later as well, which is great. But yeah, each issue is kind of leaving you wanting more.
Sorry, I just like the fact that Rachel's like, I like what you're doing, but can you do something else now with Diana?
Can I do a plug?
I will say, I will. You've done an interview, haven't you?
So we've spoken to Diana a few times. So if you search the Talking Joe history, you'll be able to find some Diana Davis content.
We'll get Diana on the show. How's that sound, Diana? We'll get all of us on here talking about it, especially when you can talk a bit more about you know, other stuff. That'd be a great idea,
stuff.
Actually.
Yeah.
That's all we care about. We don't care about the stuff that everyone knows about. Just kidding. But thanks, Rachel, for that comment. And yeah, 100%. Diana's great. Good friend, not just of the show, just in general. Good friend. So I'll tell you now. We'll get her on the show. Diana, you don't have a choice here. Sorry. No, anyway, so
now she's gone quiet.
Yeah, she's disappeared now. That is the Real American Hero Compendium, like I said, coming on the 2nd of October, so specific 2024, $64.99, volume 1, collects issues 1 through 50 of the original Marvel run. And I've got to say, even though I have the, you know, those issues in multiple formats, digitally and analog, I'm really excited to see it.
Shall I tell you? Shall I tell you the thing that I like most about this announcement? That
Go
all
for
of
it.
those people for the last 2 years or so who have been posting, where can I find these a reprint of the early issues of G.I. Joe? We can just point them at this and say
Exactly. Here you go.
October.
Just wait till
Yeah.
October and you'll have everything your heart desires. I suppose a gem of that size. Anyway, let's get stuck in. Let's get stuck in to. We'll start with the Real American Hero, but of course we have to do this, don't we? Sorry, I can't get enough of that. I love that. I'm gonna keep doing that all randomly when you're talking. I'll just play it just out of nowhere. Anywho, Diana says, it's not like I go anywhere, just need permission first and understand I can't reveal things I'm not allowed to. Of course, Diana, of course we know that. But we really appreciate it. Or we appreciate the little nuggets you throw at us anyway. That's amazing. Right, so let's talk A Real American Hero first and foremost here, bud. Now, if I can find my my cheat sheet, which has disappeared on me. I'm just kidding. So first off, how have you been finding the latest storyline with Serpentor Khan, zombie bombs, and upgraded bad guys?
Yes. Well, I can talk about this kind of stuff at length, but long and the short of it, been really digging it. I kind of, we've seen it so much over the 300 plus issues.
Yes.
And so that, I've got a sweet spot of kind of some of the stuff that I like most, but yeah, sort of, I think there's enough content out there that I've got my childish stuff that I love. I'm interested to see sort of, new takes doing things unexpected. So when there is the unexpected, I'm probably more forgiving now than I might have been once. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have expected that. This is wild. Let's just go with it. See where this crazy ride will take us. So,
right.
I know that some of the more out there zombie bomb stuff has been a little bit more divisive. That some people are digging less, but yeah, I'm all for it. I think wouldn't have predicted a zombie bomb. Wouldn't have predicted an island full of Cobra soldiers and pensioners thirsty for forbidden flesh. Really interested to see where the craziness goes, to be honest. Yeah,
we can dream, but we very rarely get what we actually dream about. I will there's a couple of things I want to say. Like you mentioned it kind of a little bit before, where you said that towards the end of the IDW run there was like this kind of, it almost felt like it kind of lost a little bit of direction, and it was a little bit kind of a lot of kind of weird tangents were going all over the place. We also had, it was almost a little bit of a theme for the IDW run, where there would be kind of like these weird things that we never really saw again. And I think a lot of that had to do with, obviously, there was the Transformers crossover situation that Larry was trying to, he was going to introduce Transformers in a way, and then it changed completely. So he had to change tack, and it didn't really make sense. And unfortunately, we got like a Death of Snake Eyes arc that really lacked any sort of, real emotion, I would say. Like it just didn't
quite land. Yeah.
And I would also say, the fact that we had, on one hand we had Snake Eyes dying, and then on the other hand we had another Snake Eyes made
in the same issue,
almost in the breath, the same the same kind of page. Basically, it was like whoop, whoop. It was like bing bong, and then okay, now we've got Snake Eyes again. So like it just didn't, it lost a lot for me, I think, and I really did struggle with it towards the end. So I must admit, there was an element of trepidation going into the first issue with Skybound, but I'm not sure it was the art that did it, maybe, or like that all of a sudden it just felt like everything felt more structured. And that first issue was a little bit bonkers. There's a lot of like, I'm not sure, have we talked about this? But like, I feel like maybe talked about it with Pat, but I feel like there's this weird thing in the first issue where it's like the plane is just doing loops. I'm thinking like, now it's flying away, but then somehow it's near the island again, and now it's flying away, but now it's somehow near the island again. Do you know, it felt like there's a lot of that going on. And then Cobra Commander's getting away on a jet ski, and then there's a bomb going off, and then they're going towards it, and they're going away from it, but then the explosion happens, and it just seemed to be a lot of weird stuff going on at once. Did you not feel that way about it?
Probably not quite feeling the same way that you did there. But it feels like 300 was a very kind of organic. Sorry, 301 into 300 into 301 felt very much like a continuation of the same story.
Yes.
And so it was a slightly weird first issue, because it was kind of finishing up a 10-issue arc essentially, and it was almost like 302. Was then kind of the conclusion to that, and 303 is almost like the sort of the start of the new bit. So it's like
it's Saved by the Bell.
It's a strange, it's a strange dynamic to kind of a brand new relaunch of a series. It is essentially continuing. The big difference is the sort of that it's been away. It's got a lot more eyes on it. And
sorry, this is funny. I got did I open the I read from the back to the front. Is that not how you're supposed to do it? No, it's probably a little bit of that, honestly. No, I've got to say though, I will finish that kind of thought as well quickly. I did enjoy it, and I also thought the art was so gorgeous. Like Chris Mooneyham's art is so good. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it is. Is it the coloring? But then it's the art as well. Like the art is just so awesome, and I can't put my finger on it. I also kind of like this idea of like, like there was the kind of timer ticking down. I really loved that. It kind of gave that kind of that sense of urgency, and it was done in such a way that it looked like a really cool. The panels just really, really cool in that sense, and I really enjoyed that. I just felt like, I think there was an element for me of them trying to not clean up, but like sort of kind of like tie a bow on that arc a little bit in a short space of time. And I think that was more of the way that I was rushing through the issue than anything else. But I didn't, like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I think the art had a lot to do with that. How are you finding Chris's art? Because it's phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I really like it. Tim has sort of my co-host has sort of picked a few nits here and there, but I really like it. It's really different to, I think, almost any other artist that we've had on ARAH to date. It's very handsome. There's a lot of detail. It's looks very modern, but also very classic. There's obviously the Cuba influence in his art, which sort of harkens back, but it's also sort of looks very modern as well. And there's a real sense of and this is, I think, sort of what you're picking out, Chris, is a real sense of design to a page.
Yes, yes, 100%.
So like looking at the couple on the screen here as well, it's like it's telling a story, it's serving the story, and it's giving us the information we need. But at the same time, as a piece of art in its own right, as a single page, it looks very handsome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of design elements to it, like sort of like a single figure of Cobra Commander here taking up most of the page, and the panels of the troopers behind him laid out. And a lot of these pages,
these were strategically chosen, by the way, these 2 pages.
A lot of the pages look great, and they could almost be sort of taken out, as a piece of art on their own right. Frame the original art, and it would look great. And like the ticking timer in the first issue was just this great design element, sort of linking everything together and sort of drawing your eye, having a literal ticking time bomb, sort of really focusing the mind of what's happening and when. And then the colors are great, and we've had almost 150 odd issues from the same colorist, IDW, who I think did a great job in terms of totally. I'm sure he's underpaid, overworked, and the coloring is always really accurate. There, given the amount of work that James Brown did on IDW's book, you could count the number of significant coloring mistakes on probably just one hand. There was very he did. It's a really difficult book to color because of the number of characters involved, getting all of the details of their outfits correct, moving between scenes constantly because of Hammer's writing, kind of that kind of stuff. So we've had a lot of coloring in a very, very similar style for a long time, which is a much more sort of traditional you know, he's wearing a blue costume, I'm going to color it blue type approach. Whereas Francisco Segala here is taking a more kind of illustrative approach to the coloring. He's not going to necessarily color the color it is. He's going to be thinking about the lighting that's being cast. He's going to be thinking about creating a sense of mood and situation and scene and all of these kind of things, and it just makes the overall package of the book look very different again to the what's come before.
Big time. Rachel's just got a side question for you, Mark. Is it necessary to pick up Void Rivals and Transformers to get the whole Joe story in the Energon universe, which is something we will talk about a little bit later on? But just as a side question, do you want to just quickly grab that?
Yeah. So let's just, for clarity, we're at the moment we're talking about the ARAH story. So that's, was relaunched with 301, and we've had 304. That is Larry Hammer's universe. That is completely, on its own, standalone, apart from any other books that Larry writes and chooses to tie into it. So we've now, separate to that, to the side, we've got Skybound's Energon Universe, which is masterminded by the puppet master Kirkman of Walking Dead and Invincible fame.
I've changed visual to help.
He's coordinating this helps with the theme there. So he's sort of coordinating this big overarching story, but then individual creators are sort of delivering each story. So essentially, we've got Void Rivals, Transformers, and 2 G.I. Joe titles, Duke and Cobra Commander, and those are all part of the same universe. They are created in a way such that there's slight connective tissues and components between them, but that each story can be read in its own right.
Yeah.
And you don't really need to read the others to get the whole picture. And
I would actually say,
where there is connective elements, you're probably given enough clues that you can just pick it up from that book. And I'll talk about. So I can give the examples of where we do have crossover.
One thing I will say as well is if you're reading just the Joe side of things, it actually makes it quite. There's a nice mysterious edge on it. If you're not reading Transformers and Void Rivals, there's like this thing of like you don't really know what's going on with that side of things. So it's nice that there's these things that kind of drip in, make it feel a little bit more mysterious and interesting and cool as well. So if you are just reading the Joe side of things, I don't think, like you said, all of these can be read their own separate kind of setups and stuff. So I 100% agree with that, mate. And I think that's a good way to answer that one, because I would also add though, Rachel, that I think I always quite like the crossover. I'm one of those marks. I'm one of the marks that not the mark that's on the show below me, but like as in one of those targets, shall we say? Not the store, not for exclusives, but I'm one of those targets
and
for
not a
these
wall
kind of
mark.
marketing campaign. I'm a wall mark. I'm more of a Toys R Us, unfortunately. Kind of a bit not really about anymore. Just pop up every now and again. In Canada. No, so I would say that, like, I can't even remember what I was talking about. That is just thrown me. What was I talking about?
You were saying that you were a mark.
I'm a mark for the crossover. Yeah, so like I'm the kind of person that then goes, right, I'm going to read it because I like one. It's way more regular issues for you to read. Like you're reading it more often. But even if Joe might not turn up in that issue, you're still you feel like you're still in the story, in the universe. So like for me, I just like I'm more is the more the merrier for me. Yeah. You're reading all. I mean, obviously we're reading all of it, aren't we? You're reading all of it.
Yeah, I'm reading all of it. Yeah. So what I was going to say. I mean, the thing is as well. There's basically 4 titles at the moment, right? So Void Rivals, Transformers, Duke, Cobra Commander. So it's 4 issues. It's not like a Marvel crossover where they just sort of lose the plot and tie in every single book, and you have to buy like 100 books to get the crossover. And I'm not even exaggerating. There's like
they get Blade complex. They get complex with the crossovers. Do you remember there was one? I forget what it was now, but there was like a time travel aspect to it. And so like 2 of the issues had the most complex beginning and end crossover points. and it was genius how it was tied together. But it was just like, it was so confused. Like, you just like, you had to read everything in order. And then on the other side of that, we had the crossover with Revolution and First Strike, which is exactly, I would say, how not to do a crossover, because we had some of the best possible reveals ruined by running order, and how like an issue came out prior, and if you were reading everything, it spoiled the reveal and everything. It's like and that happened a couple of times actually on that run, which was. But the less we get into that, the better. Actually,
yeah, and I think while we're talking about Revolution, I think what they're doing there is, and what Skybound are trying to achieve is kind of different, because like
yeah,
with the IDW verse is that you essentially had two independent universes that had been created and were doing their own stories and doing them fairly successfully, and then they bashed those things together. It's like those things that were just entirely separate and never referenced one another, despite all of the shenanigans happening in those worlds. Yeah, now they're the same universe, and they're going to be bashed together, and they're going to be on the same teams, and blah blah blah. And it just felt a bit jarring, at least to me. Whereas the approach that Skybound are having is sort of it's more subtle, and it's also starting from the beginning of saying, with issue 1 of all of these things, they're in the same world.
yeah.
So when there is this interconnectivity thing, which is being done subtly, it's like, oh my, ooh, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, why is that happening? I just want my thing. So there we go.
Also,
but
there was an element with Revolution and First Strike that was, effectively felt like a big marketing thing. Like, let's get some toy brands, out of the woodwork and stuff like that. Even though, I mean, you'd be crazy to think anything other than that. But you still kind of like come into it hoping that there's going to be some good stories in there and some, like interesting crossovers and stuff. So when it does kind of falls a little bit flat, you are left a little bit kind of like, oh well, it was only a marketing mashup or a like a kind of toy based sort of thing. But with this, you're right, it doesn't feel like that, and it's almost, I think it's almost the antithesis of that, because you've got lines at the moment. We've got a crossover line, but it doesn't really translate to what is happening in the comics. You've got almost like classified figures versus mainline Transformers characters, and they don't go together as toys. They're different scales, different situation completely. So it feels almost like Skybound are purposefully doing this to make it like this is more about the story. Do you know what I mean? Or like,
yeah, although it's definitely in the air at Hasbro, that sort of shared universe, because if you look across every single
jump on
piece
that,
of it,
they're always going to, no matter
it's
what.
there. But to put a pin in it, it's like classified. We're talking about
Dark Energon.
Dark Energon.
Yeah.
O-Ring. We've got Transformers literal crossover.
Yeah.
Then movies. We've got G.I. Joe in the same world. Then we've got the Rebellion. The Rebellion, the board game people, Revolution.
Oh, Renegades, Renegade Games.
Renegade. Oh, I knew it was an R word. Renegade Games doing their crossovers, and I'm probably forgetting one. So there's across all of these different ways that we can enjoy G.I. Joe, we're seeing these touch points where sort of it is in a shared universe to some degree.
100%. No, I'm with you on that. What I mean is like their approach, Skybound, isn't, they're not putting Yazatan and Zarana with Soundwave at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like that isn't happening technically, but like you are having, you've got straight up classified designs in their run, which again is like, like you said before, they're kind of bringing it into the toys. You got Dark Energon being talked about. So yeah, it's like, it feels like a formulated sort of idea and everything. But I feel like the Skybound side of things, it doesn't feel like Revolution, First Strike. It feels like something more substantial.
It's story first, I think.
Yeah. So we've talked about our Real American Hero. We're both digging that, right? We're on to
Can
Duke.
I?
Let's move on to Duke now. Yeah. Or one? Did you have one
I
more
was,
thing
I
to
was just
talk
going
about?
to finish that thought about where the touch points in the Energon
Yes.
universe are to answer Rachel's
She
original
doesn't deserve
question,
an answer
which was
now.
essentially we've got Void Rivals, which is out in space. It's not really touching the rest of the world. It's sort of got this interesting story about the sort of different factions. And it's kind of its own story, but it's in the
Great.
definitely in the world of Transformers. So we're seeing sort of
It's really good as well.
so we're seeing some of the Transformers sort of cast of characters filling out that world in sort of various scenes, but it's out in space. So most of the time, apart from when Jetfire appeared there and then subsequently appeared in Transformers, that was the only actual direct crossover. But even that, you didn't have to know that.
Totally. Yeah.
Transformers, linking to Void Rivals, apart from Jetfire, not a huge amount of direct correlation. Then
Well,
Duke and Cobra.
don't forget the
I'm not talking
Quintessons and the Void Rivals Transformers crossover, right? Because you've got the Quintessons showing up, and you've got
you've got the character, you've got some of the characters showing up, but the actual stories themselves aren't
right.
crossover. You've got one set on Earth, one set out in space. So you're getting lots of Transformers stuff, but it's in space essentially.
Yeah.
And we've got Springer sort of coming into the Void Rivals book as a cover reveal, and then we've
Love Springer.
and then we had Duke made his first appearance in Transformers issue 2, but in Duke issue 1 they recapped that sequence, so you could actually just read Duke without reading Transformers at all. And then we've got a bit of Megatron crossover between the book, the main Transformers book, and Cobra Commander. But again, you can read Cobra Commander without reading Transformers. It doesn't impact the reading. So it's mostly separate, but it's definitely a shared universe. And they're gonna as they sort of establish the universe, there's going to be more direct crossover in the future. But I think they just want to have that clear, bedded down foundation before they sort of start mixing up stuff too much.
And that leads us into Duke, because that also has been a real positive. Like I've got to say, like I'm having feels in the same way that I had feels when I first read the Chuckles Cobra series. And I have mentioned it on the show as well. Like I feel like there's a definite feeling, a definite vibe of that kind of style of storytelling with Duke and Cobra Commander, actually. But there is a stylistic difference between the two miniseries at the moment, which is also pretty cool. But like Duke specifically has that Chuckles sort of like feeling for me. And it's not even just like a direct thing. It's just like little bits here and there. Like the fact that certain characters are brought in, like Dr. Burkhart, because sorry, I don't know why I had a massive brain fart there, but I did. Dr. Adele Burkhart is brought into it, but not the way that we know Dr. Adele Burkhart. And that was the same thing with Chuckles. It was like, these characters, you recognize them instantly. They've got that particular either visual or personality kind of element that makes you completely go, yeah, that's whoever that is. That's Raptor. That's Crystal Ball. That's in this case Dr. Adele Burkhart. And that for me, like straight away I was kind of like, that's what I think the connective tissue with that Chuckles vibe. And I say keep saying Chuckles, but you know what I mean, the Cobra series and Duke. But the thing with Duke as well is a lot of people were going like, oh, like why, where's this, who's that, why is that there, why is that this is a brand new universe. Like you can question it all you like, but those answers haven't revealed themselves yet. It's like, it's that thing of, you could say like, why is Mercer on the Cobra team? Because he's been on the Cobra team originally. So they've utilized that aspect of Mercer's backstory in the vintage era, and they're setting this in the point where he's on the Cobra team. I imagine Mercer will defect at some point. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all up for grabs, and it's up to the storyteller to tell the story they want to, and they obviously know that we have read the file cards. We knew that he started off as a Viper on Cobra and then defected to G.I. Joe. So we've obviously got that ingrained expectation that that's going to
Yeah.
happen, and
Yeah.
they're going to want to play with that. They might
Yes.
not necessarily take the obvious answer. And I think, if they do go for the obvious answer, it's not necessarily going to be as compelling a story. So
They might, you never know, they might even kill him off, or they might be,
Absolutely.
before he even gets to defect, or he might just be with the Cobra team the entire time, and like Mercer's on the Cobra team like the entire time. You never know, really. But we'll all be waiting for it, won't we? We'll all be kind of, oh, is he going to defect yet? No, he's not defected yet. It's 397 issues in to Skybound's run. We're coming up to 400, and 400 is going to be the issue when Mercer defects, but they bait and switch, and it's I can see it already. The other one is I love the I don't know, I just love the story with Duke at the moment, and the issues that we've had for that. We've only had 2 so far, right? I think
3 is out today.
What?
Wednesday
Where have
today,
I
isn't it?
been?
New Comic Book Day.
Dude, I'll see you later. I'm going to go read Duke issue 3. I don't know how I missed that. I'm going to be reading that as soon as we get off this. In fact, we're going to bring the show to a close there, guys. Thanks very much for joining it, Mark. Thanks for
Chris. I'll let you into a secret.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, let's face it. This series so far has been phenomenal. I love the Mars, in like kind of like the cheeky Mars introduction. I love the, we talked about the logos thing, didn't we? Which like off air, as it were.
Yeah.
I can't remember where we came to on that one, but I was kind of saying it's like, oh, they're using the classified logo, and you were saying, where have they used that logo before though? And I was like, well, isn't it here? And then we looked at where I thought it was, and it was like, it's slightly different though. And this is, so like it
sounded like maybe Hasbro had designed that Mars logo, but never actually put it on anything.
Right, because we've got variations on the theme, effectively, haven't we?
Yeah, because the closest we found it was on Etsy.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, they've obviously been doing the reference for it and gone, oh, there's a logo, I'll use that. And it's like, oh, we're on Etsy right now. But no, yeah, I like the fact that they use that kind of like planet curve.
Yeah, it's a cool logo.
I think it's great. I think it's a great like little detail. Anyway, that was fun. Or the kind of like how Duke's been kind of uncovering this stuff, Destro reveal, then Clutch comes into it, and we get one of the, I love that whole series of that second issue was just brilliant. Like I wasn't kind of expecting much, honestly. I just thought like, oh, where's this going to go? And then it just blew my balls off completely. Like you have the rock and roll stalker introduction as well. Like Clutch was cute. That was a really cool introduction. You see in his kind of like personality being played up about the kind of womanizer type situation. The kind of he's on a trailer park in a junkyard sort of thing.
Yeah.
He kind of I love the fact you got that juxtaposition as well of his MIT degree with him like making instant coffee in a trailer sort of thing. And like it's really fun, and it's a shout out to the file card again, and also Manny's Mean Machines as well, like all that kind of stuff. It's just really, I like that they're really delving into the depths of the previous information, like the history, basically.
Yeah, for sure. It's everything they're doing seems to have been given a lot of thought. Nothing sort of happening quite by accident or just throw away, chucking at the wall. They're giving a lot of thought to how things and characters are being introduced, and their, I guess, reward. You can come into it as a brand new reader not knowing anything, but if you know the all of the history and the details and the file cards and all of these kind of things, there's an awful lot there that's then sort of giving you extra layers of goodness.
Someone's actually put, I think RKW says he's a triple agent when talking about Mercer, right? And that's made me feel like, imagine if he's already defected. Imagine if we're seeing Mercer as a Cobra, basically as a Cobra now, but he's already in Hawk's pocket or whatever.
Yeah,
That's a possibility, isn't it? That is a possibility.
That's a good idea. I like
Have
that.
you read Duke 3 and that's exactly what happens, by the way?
It's not what happens. No.
Okay, good. Just checking. Just checking.
I like,
Because you
I
had
like the
that
idea though.
you had that wry smile as if, Chris, you've just described what happened in issue 3 and I wouldn't know because I haven't bloody read it
No,
yet.
but it's a clever way of getting around that thing of like,
Yeah.
oh, Mercer's on Cobra and then he's going to defect because that's on the file card. That's a bit predictable.
If
Yeah,
he's
what if
already
done it
there.
already?
Yeah.
He's done it already.
I'm just saying, to be a great that would be genius. And I think now I've ruined it for everybody by saying that because I feel like that is absolutely perfect. Anyway,
well, I keep on teasing Diana that crikey. Come on, spoilers. Not everyone will have read this yet.
Come on, dude. Is it like he knows how to push my buttons, doesn't he? Is it Hydro Viper having sex with Lightfoot by any chance, Ryan? Is that what's happening? Anyway, yeah. So, dude,
Night
phenomenal
Force.
stuff. And yeah, that I love how Rock and Roll and Stalker were portrayed. Stalker's like this, like almost like not perfect kind of soldier. Like everything he does, there's a reason for it and a direction, and he's like,
Mhm.
and then that whole like fight he has is just like, bang, out you go.
Yeah, he's
kind of
more.
thing.
He's as a cool cucumber. He's more
Just
stoic, isn't he? He's just
Yeah.
on the level. Yeah.
I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I thought Rock and Roll being a little detached, you're a bit crazy, a little bit like
He's a little bit deranged, isn't he?
I love that. That was a nice touch as well. Like really getting the action figure in there, really getting the classified action figure sold. Anyway,
And also, yeah, in ARAH, sort of Clutch and Rock and Roll, they're kind of best buds.
yes,
yes. But yeah, in issue 2 of Duke, when they first meet here, he's blowing up his baby, his car.
Yeah. There's a really interesting bit in that where Clutch says he's not very good at driving.
Yeah,
he literally like self-deprecates, and I thought, God, that's a nice little edge. Like because obviously he's usually very confident, very forward, and all that kind of stuff, and you get like a little
yeah,
like
it's a bit weird,
a bit of what's the word like
Unless he said it in this voice, of course, I'm not very good at driving. Lol, not.
If they'd put "not" at the end of it, would have been amazing. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, Duke's voice. Really. I can't wait to read issue 3 now. I can't believe I didn't realize it was out today. I'm going to be. That's literally. I'm stopping everything and reading that. Yeah, can't wait.
That's
next
fair.
up. Next up, though, we have another miniseries currently running, and that's Cobra Commander. Now, this one, oh man, like that first issue. I know we're looking at issue 2 here at the moment, but bear with me. That first issue where we get the Cobra La sort of like origin backstory, again, really nice historic like knowledge shown here, and then also it's like a great way of doing his origin for this universe. I think personally, I think it's great.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the jarring thing about G.I. Joe the movie and the origin there is it was almost kind of a retcon. It's like this: everything you knew before about Cobra Commander was a lie. He's actually part of this bizarre alien race up in the Himalayas, whatever. By having it kind of at the outset, it's part of his origin story, and it's much more. Again, it's much more cohesive, embedded part of the universe. And they take best of both worlds because he's a human who's found Cobra La as well. So he could be a used car salesman as well as part of Cobra La. So it's well thought out. I think I really enjoyed Cobra Commander 1.
Oh god, that first issue was great as well. I mean, the second one was a banger. It
was a bang banger.
Literally,
that's
it's on the
graphics on the screen. Yeah,
it was a boomer. He's a boomer. It was a banger. There's a couple of points I want to make on this one. Is that we didn't mention it on A Real American Hero. I'm just going to quickly go back. What do you think of the new design for A Real American Hero in this case? It's probably a reaction to the lack of hooded, right? And so like a new take on that.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice compromise that if they're not going to use the classic hooded commander, then this sort of balaclava Cobra Commander is a kind of a nice way of sort of accomplishing a very similar thing.
Cobra Clava.
You can see his eyes, which is really important for getting across sort of that, you know, emotion and all the rest of it. I like it. I think it's a really neat solution to
I'd like to see
having
this.
Cobra Commander.
I'd like to see this in toy form. Just saying, I think it's really cool. And yeah, coming back to the Energon universe now, separate. They've gone with the old Snake vibe, and I really like that. It's like a nod to the fact that there is already Cobra Commander in Transformers, in a sense. So they're utilizing that aspect. I also think with the Cobra La backstory, it makes me. It's almost like they're looking at all of the stuff that's come before, because there was that amazing kind of introduction of Cobra La in the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover Black Horizon, I think it was. And again, like the fact that that exists in that, and it's a different universe, it's a different story, but it's like almost acknowledging that to a degree. Do you know what I mean? Like coming into this one, I don't know how it's obviously not, it's not a direct thing, but it feels like a nice reference, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know how direct it would be. It's probably more coincidental, I would think, in terms of the creators trying to actively seek out previous comic material. That probably,
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit more coincidental, but yeah, it's not the first time that we've kind of seen the comics touching. Kitty said, Cobra La. I just reread Dark Horizon. It was yeah, it's some quite interesting
I love they just threw all of the crazy
way,
elements
yeah,
from both brands
through
in,
all of the
didn't they?
crazy, yeah, all of
It's
the
like
crazy from both
Pretenders.
universes.
Get the Pretenders in there. We'll get the, we'll get the Cobra La in there. We'll get every little crazy aspect and mush it together. Anywho, yes. So Cobra Commander in the Energon universe, though, we've gone old Snake in design, which I'm digging. We've gone, oh, and also in that first issue, the version 4 design showing up out of nowhere. That was a lovely touch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I didn't expect to see that. We got sort of 4 Cobra Commanders in issue 1, which was old classic vanilla original
Vanilla Coke. We got
Coke,
Mountain Dew Baja
Coke.
Blast. We got,
and then we got, slap on a hat and a coat, and you've got Old Snake. You've got the version 3, the gold head and the red mask, and then you had G.I. Joe the movie, kind of bait and switch Cobra Commander of him, of a character looking like Cobra Commander from the Cobra G.I. Joe the movie flashback sequences, and there's almost a 5th as well, which is someone that looks like Cobra Commander getting shot in the head, which is potentially a reference to Cobra Commander dying in the IDW universe.
Crake, wasn't it? Was that Crake?
That was Crake became Cobra Commander after that first one died.
Yeah, that was it. I always, for some reason, when people reference that particular scene, and that when you see, that was a shocker, by the way. But like the fact that the head's leaning, all that kind of stuff. The name Crake just smacks me in the face every single time. It's like my brain does not want me to forget that Crake happened at some point around there. I don't know why. It's like they haven't finished writing Kraken with Crake, isn't it? It's like they just stopped, and that's what his name was.
Destro,
amazing. Yeah, Destroy. that was Battle Action Force.
Battle Action Force, yeah.
He was saying Destroy and got cut off. That's hilarious to me. Anyway, so the issue 2 of Cobra Commander again was brilliant. We got that kind of hint that the guy with him is Nemesis Enforcer / Immortal, which again is, I think when we saw that cover kind of revealed, and in fact at the end of that issue, I even said to somebody, I think that's just Nemesis Enforcer, and someone said they calls him Grunt though. I wonder if it's Robert Graves, and I'm like, I don't know. That would be weird. And yeah, lo and behold, it's Nemesis Blimmin Immortal Enforcer, however you want to call it. One of the most brutal scenes I've ever seen in a comic, actually, was when he headbutts that that jungle security guard. I couldn't think of the name, so I'm just going to say jungle security guard. He literally grabs him by the arms, headbutts his head into dust, and pulls both of his arms out of the sockets. I wasn't expecting that either, were you?
It wasn't on my tick list.
It got brutal though. I mean, you got Buzzer cutting a guy in half with his chainsaw. The dreadnoughts are I mean, they've
Nasty.
gone.
Yeah.
Do you think they've got? Do you think they've gone too far with that, or do you think that's like? Do you think that's actually a cool way of doing them,
I
like to
mean,
make them a
it's
bit
a way of
more
kind of
dangerous?
slightly overcorrecting because, like, you know, dreadnoughts. I guess in popular culture, in both the cartoon and the comics, quite
Thank you,
jokey,
Tyrone.
quite quite comedic. Really, not necessarily a huge amount of threat and menace there. I think that early appearances in the comic were a bit more like these are just a nasty bunch, but that sort of softened around the edges as they got
Definitely soften. Yeah, I mean, they're like, yeah, there was a biker gang, but they were more comical than they were dangerous. They were more a nuisance than they were murderous psychopaths. And in this one, they're like, it's like the hills have eyes, is how they've started it with them, isn't
yeah.
it? You know, and again, I don't know, I'm quite digging it. I think it's actually a good way of making them more of a threat than they have been in the past. I was sad to see the Thunder Machine blow up, and also it seemed to be Ripper's baby and not Thresher and not
Yeah.
Thrasher's.
I wondered whether that is because they're trying to tie it to the classified, designs, aesthetic, etc. And we haven't had Thrasher revealed
Thresher,
yet.
yeah.
So maybe they're holding him back, or maybe they're gonna rebuild the Thunder Machine as Soundwave.
There you go. There you go. I mean,
I don't think that will happen, but
well, I don't know. The fact that we're seeing the Dreadnoughts so close to the Thunder Machine. We've had Zartan and Zarana in that set as well. I mean, if we see Blue Ravage turn up, I'm telling you now, we're going to see Soundwave's coming back, and he's coming back as a blooming Thunder Machine. Anyway, that's really cool. Funny enough, Shooting the Galaxy just posted some wonderful images of new ones of the Thunder Machine Soundwave promo shots, and it's got a cheeky triple T in one of the images, which is a nice nod, isn't it? Of like it's like one of those things that Hasbro do, and they're like, yeah, we know it's been leaked. We can't say anything about it, so here you go. Anyway, yeah, Cobra Commander, loving it, loving this new direction. Got a bit of a cliffhanger going on at the moment with what I mean. Do you? I'm just throwing this out here, but obviously he's tussling with some Crocs at the moment. Could you see Crocmaster turning up at any point here, or?
I would be more surprised if he didn't. I think at this point, if there are crocodiles there, giant mutated crocodiles,
yeah,
you're going to have Crocmaster, aren't you?
Bane's got to be there, hasn't he? Amazing, awesome stuff. Now, if I'm correct, which I'm usually not, we're going to talk about some of our favorite comic covers. Yeah, that's right. That is happening next. So let's get onto that and finish up. So instead of our version therapy, we're going to do cover therapy. How does that sound?
Lovely.
Well,
let's get under the covers.
Oh. I like that. Under the covers. Now I kind of wish we'd had like a title that had Under the Covers written on it. Anyway, right, we'll start with a real American hero. We'll talk about
Chris,
our favorite covers.
I just remembered something important that I forgot to mention though, which is that in May there is going to be an Energon Universe Free Comic Book Day special.
Ooh.
With all of the those three ties, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Void Rivals in one book. So that is the definite first, big intersecting point. So that's a free comic book, I think, in May, followed by so there's a free version of that, and then there'll be a purchasable at full price version of that, if that's your preference.
I'll wait. I'll wait till Ross and buy it for more
with different money. Covers. So you've got the listing has the three main writers: Kirkman, Daniel Warren Johnson, Joshua Williamson, and three artists: Lorenzo De Felici, Ryan Ottley, Jason Howard. So Ryan Ottley is the best known for Invincible.
Nice.
And we know that he's drawing the Transformers story because there's been some art, I think, shared of that.
Yeah. Was that the same video that shared the art of the interconnecting Cobra Commander covers? that gave
Ooh, I
away
don't
a little
know.
bit
I
of
don't
a.
know. I don't know. Did it
Okay,
include it there as well?
I don't know. It might have done.
And then yeah, so Lorenzo De Felici, he's obviously the Void Rivals artist. So you'd think that it's going to be Jason Howard doing the G.I. Joe story. So
It sounds like you're
yeah,
just naming Take That members now. Jason and Howard and
Jason and Howard.
Robbie and
And
Mark.
he previously worked with Kirkman on their co-owned title Super Dinosaur. So I don't know if Jason Howard working on this G.I. Joe story here is a hint that maybe he's going to do more. I would expect that possibly he might. And then yeah, we've been told as well that there's going to be 4 G.I. Joe titles miniseries total before we get the ongoing launched. So we've had 2 already, so we've got 2 more mystery titles.
Ooh. So we've had another bit of breaking news, which means I've got to do some work after this. Pretty much. Looks like pre-orders tomorrow are going to be Jinx, Norgahide, Porkbelly and Yobbo, obviously, Torch, Night Creeper, and Doc as well, maybe. I've seen that Preternia have posted some images already on X. So yeah, following this, guys, don't worry. It looks like I'm going to be busy tonight as well with a cheeky news burst as well to go with it. So yeah, brilliant stuff. I only noticed because Ryan posted a comment saying Doc's stretcher looks cool. So yeah, I'll be talking about that later on. Anyway, sorry, Mark. Well, let's continue talking about our stuff before we get into the
yeah,
news stuff.
Just send everyone else to go looking at other things.
Yeah, go look at some other stuff, guys. Yeah, we dropped about 100 people.
Chris, question for you: if we're going to have following that similar kind of track before we get the G.I. Joe book launch, which is probably going to be called Codename G.I. Joe because that's what they keep on referencing in various blurbs. If we're going to get 2 more single characters for minis, what would your bet be for what those might be?
My bet and my wants are 2 different things, obviously. So if it's
obviously
bet,
the Lightfoot.
If it's my bet, then I would imagine probably we've had Duke and Cobra Commander. Wouldn't surprise me if they go with balance and do Baroness Scarlet, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they do like Destro, because obviously we've seen Destro heavily mentioned, like heavily shown off, and maybe CoverGirl because she's also been hinted in this as someone that's quite integral to the General Hawk sort of machine that we've got going on. So I think I'm going to go completely. I'm just going to go Destro and CoverGirl for the next 2. I know it doesn't sound like your tent poles necessarily. I mean, Destro maybe, but like I think people are expecting Snake Eyes. Maybe they're expecting I don't know, Scarlet and Snake Eyes. But then I think you got to do Cobra and Joe. So I think I do think Destro CoverGirl would be a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, those are good bets, I'd say. Yeah, I think they've kept on saying that they want to hold back Snake Eyes, so I'm going to take them on that on their word at that we're not going to see Snake Eyes for a little while, unless they're saying that specifically for us to think that and then just introduce it. But I think we're going to see a big Joe and a big Cobra. I was thinking maybe Scarlet and Destro, but you said Hawk. And that might be an interesting way. Hawk might be an interesting one because it's kind of you could look at the other side.
Destro would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Look at the other side of the story from the Hawk angle of he's probably seeing a bunch of stuff that Duke's not aware of and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll go Hawk Destro.
That's a really good shout. I want to change mine. I kind of the only reason I feel like they want to maybe throw some balance in there and get like Scarlet, Jay, Baroness, that kind of stuff as well. And again, that all the funny thing is though, out of all of those characters, I'm excited to see where they go with the kind of little mini character arcs. It's a nice way of doing it, actually. It kind of focuses the story a little bit. It gives it a little bit more, gives each character a bit more time. It's a good way of doing it. And you can still, it's not like we're seeing loads of other characters kind of and how they're working. It's really Duke is the central point of that series, and everyone's around him.
Yeah, sort of.
And the same
Yeah.
thing with Cobra Commander. He's the sun, and everyone else of the planet's flipping around and stuff. So yeah, I feel like whoever they choose, I'm happy to go with that.
I love Ryan's comment here.
I
Ryan
don't.
says Zartan and Ripcord, and they swap books halfway through the series.
That's genius. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm down. I'm down. I want a Xandar book that they forget to release, and no one even and everyone forgets about it until like 10 years later. And go, wasn't there supposed to be a Xandar issue? And it's been out, and no one knew about it. That would be the perfect way to do a Xandar comic, wouldn't it? Just nobody knowing about it.
Well, they could do it. They could do that with Zartan. It would be like they just released this random book of this new character, and then just halfway through his story, he changes his his disguise, and it's actually Zartan underneath.
Amazing. I'd be down for something as ridiculous as that. Right, we're technically it's sorry. I'm also trying to multitask because images are floating about. But anyway, let's talk covers. Covers. It's what do you call it? Under the covers. That was disgusting.
Under the covers, I said.
Under the covers. Take us through then your favorite A Real American Hero cover, please, and thank you very much. Bosh.
So it was hard, but I selected this one, which is the what was it? Andy Kubert cover to the latest ARAH issue 304. Tim talks about this a little bit more on our next episode in the way that only Tim can. But it's got everything. Tin can. It's got a selection of Cobra troops of the down there, and so we don't often necessarily see that sort of variety of troops in sort of drawn so handsomely. We've got this really dynamic shot of Dawn. We've got a hint of a vehicle behind her, which is looks like it's a hiss, and then we've got this like really atmospheric kind of coloring, the pinks and sort of that mist coming in, and it sort of is really just nice. Asking that question, what is this situation, what's going to happen? And then the icing on the cake is that what we're seeing with ARAH cover A's and an awful lot of the Skybound covers, even the variants, is that the characters and the situations referenced on the cover are generally things that are happening on the inside. And that's that's so great because it sort of instantly ties you to this is the cover, and that then is making me think of that great story on the inside where Dawn was sneaking about, and there was Springfield, and there was all of these so it all just comes together. It's great, love it.
It's a beauty. It's probably up there for me too, actually. I like this one, like the first issue, the 301 issue, where they're all on the front of the cover and everything all kicking. I know that was one that you'd also mentioned to me as a possible one that you'd have chosen. If we'd have clashed a little bit. Yeah, there's loads. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And honestly,
I selected this one on my shortlist as well.
Oh mate, I have
the Carson Thorne variant.
Beautiful. I have that. Courtesy of Diana Davis. Thank you, Diana. By the way,
shiny. And it's just John Paul Leon vibes, and
I love that one. I love that one that was a reprint for where Snake Eyes is like infiltrating the building, and you see him through the window, like on abseiling, and the two troopers just unaware, about to get the absolute Snake Eyes taken out of them. So yes. Yeah, there's so many good ones.
I think that was Danny Earle's reprint to 301. I want to say, second print of 301.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just trying to write pre-orders dropping tomorrow.
Do you want to flip to the next? Oh no, you're talking next, aren't you?
Yeah, it's my next one. Yeah, it's all me now. Sorry, I did it.
So I could.
It's happened now.
Right,
you can't.
Okay,
it's happened. Done. Right. So, I've gone with, and this is one that, like, again. There's so many to choose from. It's hard to really just kind of like pin them down, honestly. Honestly, when I asked you the question, I hadn't really chosen in my head either, but I went with this absolute beauty. So this is issue 301, third printing, cover A by Eduardo Pansica, Julio Ferreira. and Adriano Lucas to give their correct pronunciations, or probably not, probably butchered the crap out of them. But this is just, and again, like, I know it's going to be. I'm not the biggest Cobra Commander fan ever. I say that looking at a Cobra Commander helmet over there, a Baron Ironblood helmet over there, which is technically Cobra Commander in my universe, and about 500 Cobra Commanders on my shelf behind me. But I'm not the biggest Cobra Commander fan ever. But for some reason, they're the most striking covers to me at the moment. And this one, just beautiful, just absolutely friggin' stunning. It's got like dictator portrait written all over it. It's got, you know what I mean? It's like something you'd see, I could imagine this in on like a, you know, in a frame in his, like above his throne or something. And the fact that the maggot makes an appearance just completely buzzes my berries. So the fact that we've got a maggot in there, I love maggots. They're great. But no, just this for me is just next level. I love the kind of redesign, the cape, the kind of like the battle helmet, but with the curvature in it, just absolutely beautiful. And it's just executed phenomenally. And you got that little kind of almost like burst of explosion happening just off, lighting up some of the rocks.
Bottom left.
Yeah, so maybe like there being that, you know, that could be from the enemy attacking them. It could be something that they've just blown up. I don't know. It's just really, really effective for me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a good one, and it's funny because there's a kind of a similar sort of composition between the two that we selected, of looking up at that character, sort of you know, looking down over us, and with a vehicle, you know, a classic vehicle behind them as well, with sort of pink moody you know, sky behind them. So it's interesting. We're sort of drawn towards similar things. Yeah, there's a lot of great covers to choose from.
Oh, too many. Like to the point where I'd forgotten some and were like, oh, maybe I should choose that. But no, I'm happy with this one as my favorite for a real American hero, honestly. I just think it's very, very striking. Next up then, I have a full-size Baron Ironblood helmet, Chris. Yes, I do. It's Kate's technically. It's a it's a Baroness Ironblood helmet technically, but it does fit me and it's amazing. I should just go and wear it for the rest of the show, shouldn't I? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't be able to fit my headphones over it. Next up, then we've got your favorite Duke cover, and it's a beauty again, mate.
Yeah, this is Declan Shelvey. I think it's issue 3.
Why is he standing inside the top of a exposed Snake Eyes head?
I think it's meant to be a transformer, isn't it? I'm not too sure which one. You know, is it? I don't know. Prowl. They're all the same.
It's good, doesn't it? Really good.
And it's, you know, it's just got this really sort of atmospheric kind of yellow, just sort of color palette to the whole thing. And Declan Shelvey is just a writer writer artist that I've been following, you know, since the early days of his career, and I've met a few times, and he's a lovely guy. But he's done great work.
Are you in his house at the moment and he doesn't know?
He's just over my shoulder. But you know, he's a creator that I've got a lot of time for. You know, great work on Moon Knight, and you know, his own books like Old Dog and stuff like that. You know, and so it's someone independent to the world of G.I. Joe, that a creator that I'm very excited about. So to see him, you know, work on G.I. Joe is you know, very, very cool.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know. I really like this one. I think it's really nice. It's got again that kind of really, what's the word? Like a atmospheric feel to it, like a real haze going on in the air.
Yeah.
RKW's not a fan though. Did you see that? He's not a fan of this one.
Well, he might be talking about 306. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
I think it's quite cool. There's the cover to 306 with Snake Eyes in the visor has been revealed, and
that's true.
Pretty cool cover. But
I don't know. There haven't been many that I've kind of gone, nah. They're all pretty impressive. I'd also, like, for me, I went with this one. Now this is, I can't remember the details. Cover B variant by Ricardo Lopez Ortiz, and the reason I went with this one is just for the actual dynamic action, the kind of just everything going on. It feels really intense, really kind of like, I don't know, like kind of erratic. It almost like captures the moment of everything kicking off at the same time. You feel like there's a real like high stakes suspense going on, real heavy chase, and like there's probably gunshots zipping past as well. Like you almost feel this cover just mainly due to the fact that he's gripping that blooming steering wheel so tight and he's like clenching every. It's just I love it for that. I love it for the feeling you get looking at this, like almost like you feel tense looking at this cover. And this is a banger for me.
Yeah, they're sort of really turning up the cartooning and just dialing up that that sort of kind of caricature dial just a little bit more, and it's not completely representational, but it's like you're feeling that scene and all of the energy that's going on there. It's nice to see this sort of variety of different takes and styles, and this one's got a lot going on.
Absolutely. His gun safety is on point, says RKW. Literally on the trigger. So that's a fave of mine for sure. Then we get into Cobra Commander, and you've gone with this beauty. This is a quite recent one as well, isn't it? Recently revealed almost for a reprint.
This was from
variant.
issue 1. It was a variant, so it was a retailer exclusive. It was Nimitz Malavia, and it was a shared exclusive, so you might see it popping from a couple of different retailers and like whatnot and that kind of thing. In the UK, it's being sold by thecomiccupboard.co.uk. And if you do want it and you don't have it, you can use a code Talking Joe 10. That will get you 10% off. Doesn't get me anything. Doesn't get me anything, but does get you 10% off. So if you do want that one and can't find it, that's where you can definitely get it. And it's on a foil. I think they did two. I want to say they did 2 versions of this: a standard and a foil.
One without the text and everything as well, right?
Yeah, a virgin variant with the foil, and it's with the foil particularly, it just looks really cool and it pops, and it sort of just plays into what's happening in issue 1, where he's in that snow scene. He's standing behind that tracked vehicle. The lights are shining on him in red. It's illuminating this falling snow, a bit like falling blood, echoing kind of a lot of the themes in the book. And it just looks really moody and dark and sort of different. And for me, I always love, when the cover ties into the book, and that is definitely doing that here with that very specific vehicle. And so I think that's what appealed to me. But there's been a lot of nice covers, and I almost just went with the bog standard, because that is a great cover. That is a great cover.
It's really good. There's a couple that popped up after I chose my one, but I still really like the one that I'm going to choose. Again, I'm not like it looks like I'm just all about Cobra Commander for my choices. But apart from the Duke issue, which I couldn't find a Cobra Commander on a Duke issue, so I didn't choose it. But I went with this again. I think this one I like because, and this is the Maria Wolf-Rupp exclusive from issue 1. And what I like about this, not only have we got a very kind of like stylized but very like clearly vintage style Cobra Commander with the battle helmet and everything, that's really nice and stands out. But it's the fact that it's on this beautiful background with the snakes coiled and the color, and I even like the color choice on the text, on like the logo being that kind of like almost like neon, sort of like it's like a neon mustard, isn't it? So if that's a thing, neon mustard, is that a thing?
Is now. Yeah.
But I love that. Like, I love the color in the background really makes that vintage Commander like just fly off the page. And yeah, love it. I also like the fact that his hands are so massive. They kind of look like, in He-Man, Fisto and Fisto and what's the other one called? Jitsu. It's got that Jitsu vibe with the size of the friggin' hands. And there's another one.
If it was going to be made into Yeah, Fisto, isn't he?
Fisto and Jitsu. I love those.
And
I
yeah,
love Fisto.
if
That
he
is a
was
sexy
if he
thing.
was a He-Man toy and his hand was in that position, it'd be like a
That's a
grab
painful
you
one, isn't
by
it?
the
Yeah, that's a ball grabber, definitely. A globe grabber, we'll say. He likes grabbing
globe grabber.
globes. Anyway, yeah, so I love this one. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, it is. Yes, I think that's what it is. RKW. It's like one of those eye test illusions. It has got
Magic Eye, yeah.
yeah. I 100% agree with you on that. Anywho, I think that's.
Sailboat. I can see a sailboat.
I can see if I look really hard. I can see I think it's a Cobra Commander in there.
I can see my parents arguing.
It's not a Rorschach test.
Right, okay.
I see a butterfly. I see death to everybody. Anyway, right, yeah, that's our cover therapy. That's everything, I think, dude. We made it.
Wow.
We made it. We made it. And I know we've gone over time. I apologize because I did say we'll try and keep it to an hour, and I've gone way over. And now I have to run off and do another news burst like it's my job. Could they not just wait till tonight to leak everything? Why does it have to be exactly when I go live with things? I don't understand. It's like the whole world is against me being on time for news. Anyway, dude, thanks for jumping on. It's been an absolute blast as always.
Absolutely. Always good to talk.
See, we've got a Full Force Monthly at the end as well. Yeah, I'm sorry it took so long to actually get this sorted because this was one of those ones where it was like, hey, do you want to do a special? And then like, when was it? Like December or January or something? It was probably before that actually. We were trying to hook up like do like an actual crossover special. It always was an issue trying to get availability sorted. And then just recently it was like, hey, can you jump on a monthly? And you were like, yeah, let's do it today. And I'm like, I can't do it today. We'll have to do it today. So thank you, mate. I appreciate you bearing with me and actually turning up when we managed to get it sorted.
And yeah, you will reciprocate, and you can come on Talking Joe sometime soon to talk about one of these new books. And
I want to come on Talking Joe all the time, Kitty said. Talk about Talking Joe for a sec before we go. Where can people find you?
You can find us in lots of places. So we've got a website, talkingjoe.co.uk is the website. We put out a new episode almost every Thursday, and that goes onto all of the regular podcast platforms. And sometimes I will also do a YouTube version of that with images. And even if it doesn't do that, it also goes onto our YouTube platform as a audio only podcast with just a static image
of Mark and his rash.
Yeah, and our focus is very much on our lane is the comics. So we our focus is talking about comics. We'll talk about the ARAH issue. The week after it comes out, essentially we'll drop the episode. So ARAH came out, 304 came out last week. So tomorrow, this Thursday, our episode covering 304 is out. Look for it first thing tomorrow. And we'll be doing a recording. Our next one will be covering Duke issues 2 and 3 together. Myself and my regular co-host Tim Finn. So we're sort of very much focused on the issues as they come out, and then delving into some of the past of G.I. Joe. So we've been doing a big deep dive into the Devil's Due era, and then we also talk to all sorts of creators as well. So we just did recently an interview with ex-Hasbro head honcho for their publishing, Michael Kelly, and he gave us all sorts of insight as to the, how
he spilled the beans. NDAs were ripped up in front of his eyes.
He was very respectful of his former employer, but we found out all sorts of interesting insight as to how all of these comics came about from the perspective of the Hasbro lead for them. So from the beginnings of IDW all the way through to the beginnings of Skybound, all sorts of interesting and insightful kind of
awesome.
Stories.
go check Mark and Tim out on Talking Joe on all the platforms. Go and do it. Yeah, I'll be jumping on again soon. I really want to talk. I really enjoy talking about it. So yeah, I'll figure out. We'll figure out that in the future. Anywho, have a wonderful evening, my good man. I know it's late there now, and it was it like 8:30 now or something.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Sorry,
quick maths.
Right, quick maths. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us and chatting and asking questions and getting involved. We really appreciate it, of course. And I'll see you in a few minutes when I go live for another news burst. And yeah, you'll see Mark on Talking Joe. Anyway, stay fresh, cheese bags. You know what to do after 3, right? Mark, you know what to do. You've been here before. You'll just shout Talking Joe anyway. After
Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Or 1,
the other one.
2, 3, 4. See you later, guys.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well, @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.